All right, so our homepage is pretty much done aside from the responsive stuff that we're going to do our media queries later on. So we're going to start on the about and the article.html page. So let's open up about.html, and we're going to be using, you know, the nav bar, the footer, that stuff from the index page. So I'm going to copy the whole index page and paste that in about. And then we're going to go up to the top here. Let's change the title here to just about. And let's remove the current. We have a class of current on the link here. We're going to move that to the about page, class current. Okay, we're not going to have a showcase. We can actually get rid of everything in between the nav bar and the footer. So we'll get rid of all that stuff, and if I save and we go to about, we just have the header and the footer. So this is basically your boilerplate for any other page you want to create on this website. A lot of times what I'll do when I'm building something like this is I'll take this and name it like boilerplate.html. That way, if I need to create another page, I have all this. All right, and later on when you get into actual programming, whether it's PHP or Node.js, whatever it may be, if you get into front-end frameworks like React and Vue.js, you're not going to have to copy everything like this. You can have what are called partials, or if you're using a front-end framework, you can have components that you can simply include into your file. That way you don't have to do all this for every single page. All right, now we're going to have a section here. So let's say section, and we're going to give it an ID of about. And then inside here, we're going to have a container. Okay, so that's just going to align everything to the middle. But then we're also going to have a page container, which is going to be our grid container. And this page container, we're going to use on any inner pages. So the about and the article.html. And if you wanted to create more pages, we could use this as well. It's going to set it up. It's going to create a grid layout so that we have a main area, and then anything else we add will just be sidebar widgets, basically. So in this page container, let's create our first grid item, which is going to be an article, and we're going to give this a class of card because we want to have that white background with the padding. And then let's do an H1, and I'm going to give this a class of L heading because I want this to be a larger heading than normal. And let's just say about our organization. And then we're going to do, let's do a paragraph with lorem 50. And then let's do another paragraph still within the article. And we'll say lorem 100, like that. Now let's do lorem 150. So next thing is going to be an aside. So let's say aside, and this is just going to be that little join our club thing. So I'm going to give this a class of card, but I also want it to be red, or have the primary color. So I'm going to do bg-primary. I should probably put class in here. So class card and BG primary, and then let's do an H2, and let's say join our club. By the way, I have no idea what the club is. It's just an example of a content widget. So let's put paragraph here. Let's do lorem 10, and underneath that we'll just put an A tag with the class of BTN, and let's do a dark button. So we'll do BTN. Let's do btn-dark, and then I also want this to go all the way across its container, so let's add btn block, which I'm about 90% sure we added in the CSS already, but I'm going to have to check. So let's say join now. Yeah, if we look at style CSS, I just want to make sure that I added this. btn block, yep, so it's going to go 100% across. It's going to be display block. All right, so I think that's it. Let's save this, and basically we just have our content, you know, all on one line here. We want to set this to a grid, and we want to have this be the main part, and then this be in the sidebar, and then anything else we add, I want to be in the sidebar as well. So let's go to our style sheet, and there's nothing really we have to add that's specific to the about page, just the page container. So we're gonna go down. Let's put this. I don't want to put it as a utility class. Well, I guess it kind of is a utility because we're going to use it in multiple pages. So yeah, we'll put it right below here, below the list. So let's say page dash container, and I'm just going to put a comment here and say that this is the inner page container or grid container. So let's display grid, and then we're going to do grid dash template dash columns, and the split that I want to use is going to be 5 FR and 2 FR. Okay, and you can experiment with how thin or wide you want the sidebar to be, but I'm going to use that. Now, how this is now with this stretching all the way down, I mean, it's going to do this because it's a 5 FR, 2 FR, and they're going to be the same height. You may want to do this. You may want to add another like piece of content in this same box, but what I want to do is have this be a completely separate box from the next one. All right, so it's up to you how you want to lay it out. You might want to do something like this, but let's go and say we want the page container, and we want the first child, so basically the main article. So I'm just going to say asterisk colon first child, and I want to span this across rows. So I'm going to say grid dash row. We want to start at 1, and then we want to span, let's span 3 and save. Okay, so now it's just going to span down 3, and whatever we put next is going to go right here and then right here. And if you want to have more than 3, then you could increase this span and just have it span as long as you want. All right, so let's this is all very close together, so we're going to add some margin on the main container for the top and bottom. So we'll say 2 rem top and bottom, 0 left and right, and then let's also do a grid gap so we have some space in between the actual grid items. So grid gap is going to be 1.5 rem, and save, and there we go. So now we have our margin top and bottom here. We also have a grid gap. And you'll see that when we create our article page, we're going to have 2 boxes on the side. So the next thing I add would be right here. Next one would be here. And then after that, it would go down over here because remember, we're only spanning 3. And you could put this to whatever you want. Like if I put it to 6, it'll allow us to have 6 on the side, but I'm just going to use 3 for now. That's fine. Okay, so we have our home page, we have our about page. In the next video, we're going to start to work on our article page.